Welcome to my channel, where your adventure into the future starts right now. Step into a vibrant universe filled with groundbreaking technology, breathtaking alien landscapes, and exhilarating sci-fi narratives that challenge your imagination. From daring explorations of distant galaxies to haunting journeys through dystopian societies, we uncover the most captivating stories and innovative ideas that will shape the world of tomorrow. Subscribe today and join us on an incredible intergalactic voyage that promises to inspire and thrill. The sun had just begun to sink beneath the horizon, casting long shadows across the worn grass of an otherwise unremarkable suburban backyard. A slight breeze rustled the overgrown plants, their leaves trembling slightly as though the very earth itself sensed that something extraordinary was about to happen. In the distance, the familiar drone of city life hummed, unaware of the events unfolding in this otherwise mundane corner of the world. The backyard, simple, unassuming, a place for cookouts, birthday parties, and lazy afternoons, was about to become the stage for something far greater than anyone on Earth could have ever predicted. It was here, in this quiet, ordinary space, that humanity would face its greatest trial. And in this backyard, humanity would make its boldest stand yet. They had invited the galaxy's most feared and ruthless warriors to fight them. They had invited the Hovakari. The Hovakari were not the kind of warriors you could easily forget. For millennia, their name had been spoken in hushed tones by the most powerful civilizations, their very existence a shadow that loomed over the galaxy. They were not just fighters, they were legends. Their fearsome reputation had spread across countless star systems. The warriors of the Hovakari were invincible, their power immeasurable. Entire star fleets had been wiped out in a matter of moments by their brutal onslaughts. Entire planets had been leveled by their unrelenting assault. They moved like shadows in the void of space, swift, silent, and terrifying. For a long time, the Hovakari had been the unchallenged rulers of war. No one dared to provoke them, no one dared to defy them. They followed an ancient code, a warrior's code that demanded honor in battle, strength above all else, and absolute mastery of combat. No one had ever challenged them directly. No one had ever invited them to fight. Until now. The invitation was simple, yet it sent a shockwave through the galaxy. It was a broadcast, a message sent from Earth, composed of just two words: come fight. The message was not a declaration of war, it was not the result of some political maneuver or an organized military challenge. It was not delivered by a coalition of interstellar governments or a grand spacefaring empire. It came from the people of Earth. Just ordinary humans, living in their ordinary lives, who had decided that it was time to stand up and show the galaxy who they really were. The reaction was swift. The galaxy's most powerful civilizations were left stunned. No one believed that humanity, a species still finding its footing on its home planet, could possibly have the courage or the hubris to challenge the Hovakari. The human race was still considered by many to be weak, fragile, and primitive. What could they possibly hope to achieve by challenging a force as mighty as the Hovakari? Did they think they could win? Were they foolish enough to think they could stand up to the greatest warriors in the galaxy? But the message wasn't about winning. It was about proving something far more important. It was about showing that humanity, despite its weaknesses, despite its short lifespan and lack of technological supremacy, had something the other civilizations lacked. Humanity had grit. Humanity had resilience. And, perhaps most importantly, humanity had a spirit that refused to be broken. As soon as the invitation was sent, the Hovakari wasted no time in responding. They did not respond with words. They responded with their presence. It wasn't a fleet of ships that arrived at Earth, not a grand armada bristling with weapons and advanced technology. The Hovakari did not need ships to travel. They could bend the very fabric of space itself, their bodies existing in multiple planes at once. They arrived instantaneously, appearing in a flash of energy that was as abrupt as it was terrifying. And so, in the backyard of an unremarkable house on Earth, the Hovakari appeared. They materialized out of thin air, their forms shrouded in dark, glimmering armor that seemed to drink in the light. They stood in a formation, silent, imposing, and utterly still. Each of them was a towering figure, at least 2 meters tall, their bodies clad in armor made of a material no one could identify, a substance that shimmered and shifted with an unnatural glow. Their helmets were black, reflective, featureless, leaving their faces hidden from view. They looked like shadows made flesh, like walking nightmares, and their very presence seemed to make the air around them grow thick, oppressive. Humanity watched from a distance, unsure of what to do. The backyard, so familiar to the residents, had suddenly become a battleground for the ages. Ordinary citizens, ordinary people who had never known conflict on such a scale, stood in silent awe. The mere sight of the Hovakari filled them with a primal terror, one that went deep into their bones. The warriors stood perfectly still, their eyes, if they had them, seemingly unblinking, staring forward as if waiting for something. The humans, led by their representatives, leaders, scholars, and warriors, gathered in the backyard, unsure of what to do next. The contrast between the calm of the backyard and the tension that hung in the air was jarring. How could they face such a force? What could they possibly do against the unstoppable might of the Hovakari? The first to speak was a woman, elderly yet strong in her posture and her eyes. Her name was Lyra, and she was a descendant of the few surviving members of humanity's ancient warrior traditions. She stepped forward, her voice unwavering as she addressed the Hovakari in their own language, a language no one else on Earth could understand. The warriors' heads tilted slightly, acknowledging the challenge, but otherwise, they remained motionless. Lyra's words were few but heavy with meaning. "We did not invite you here to beg for mercy. We invited you to see that we are not as weak as you think. We will face you, not with the weapons you expect, but with something stronger, our will to survive. We are human, and we do not surrender. Not now, not ever." For a long moment, there was only silence. The air seemed to hum with anticipation. The Hovakari stood perfectly still, processing the challenge, perhaps considering the audacity of it. Then, finally, one of them moved. It was not a swift motion, nor a violent one, but a slow, deliberate step forward. The Hovakari's armor shimmered as he approached Lyra, his towering form casting a long shadow across the grass. He stood just before her, the sound of his breathing, if he even breathed, loud in the stillness of the backyard. The humans held their breath, knowing that the moment of reckoning had arrived. "You wish to fight?" The Hovakari's voice was deep, resonant, and laced with an ancient authority. "You understand what you face?" Lyra did not flinch. "We understand. And we are ready." The Hovakari steadied her, silent for a moment, before stepping back. Then, with a fluid motion, he raised his hand. A signal. And just like that, the warriors began to move. What happened next defied every expectation. The humans did not fall before the onslaught. Instead, they stood their ground. They fought not just with weapons, but with the ingenuity that had always defined humanity. They used their environment, their surroundings, their knowledge of the land. The Hovakari were masters of combat, yes, but the humans were unpredictable. They did not follow the established rules of war. They did not fight with brute strength or overwhelming firepower. Instead, they fought with strategy, with surprise, and with a tenacity that the Hovakari had never encountered. At first, the Hovakari were dismissive, almost scornful of the humans' attempts. They were toying with them, testing their limits, seeing how long they could endure before breaking. But then, something began to shift. The humans did not break. Instead, they adapted, they learned, and they began to push back. The Hovakari, used to crushing their enemies with ease, found themselves forced to adjust. They had underestimated humanity. They had thought that Earth would be like any other world, easily conquered and left in ruins. But the humans were different. They had a will to survive that no other species had. They fought for their homes, for their families, for their future. And it was this spirit that made them so dangerous. Hours passed, and the battle raged on, the backyard transformed into a chaotic arena. The Hovakari were relentless, but the humans were relentless too. They fought not for the thrill of victory, but for the survival of their species, for the belief that they could stand toe-to-toe with the galaxy's greatest warriors and not be destroyed. By the end of the day, as the stars began to twinkle overhead, something unexpected happened. The Hovakari, who had never before been forced to retreat from battle, paused. They stood amidst the wreckage of the backyard, their bodies battered, their once imposing armor scratched and dented. They looked at the humans not with disdain, but with respect. They had expected an easy victory, but humanity had proven them wrong. The Hovakari, for the first time in their long history, had met a foe who would not yield, who would not break. Humanity had not won the battle, but they had won something far more valuable. They had earned the respect of the galaxy's most fearsome warriors. And as the Hovakari left Earth, they did so with a newfound understanding. The galaxy would never be the same. The name of humanity would be spoken with a new reverence, a new fear, for they had proven that, in the face of overwhelming odds, they would rise. And no matter what challenges came next, humanity would face them with the same relentless determination. The backyard, once a place of peaceful gatherings, was now a symbol of humanity's resolve, its courage, and its refusal to be cowed. It was here that the human spirit had been tested and found to be unbreakable. And the galaxy would remember that, for as long as the stars burned bright, humanity had invited the galaxy's most feared warriors into its home and had shown them that they were a force to be reckoned with.